Let's do it.
So Barrett, let me ask you this. You're not cycling anymore, are you?
Not right now.
When did you quit?
Well, I quit on the road probably when Leslie and I got married, which was 2016.
Was you riding up till then?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When did you start riding?
I started running in early 2000s, 2001, 2, something like that. Then I got I bought a bike at Scott's, a road bike and a mountain bike. So I started doing some mountain biking and some road biking, and then got into triathlons and did that for 10 years maybe. Trained a lot with Chris Wilds. I don't know if you know Chris.
No.
He works at Cleveland Utilities, but he and I trained a lot and raced together a lot. And then I hurt my knee maybe in 2010.
One Saturday morning early, I was driving through downtown, and I saw you and Stanley Thompson riding.
Yep.
Were y'all both riding with Scott's at the time?
We did a lot of riding then. We trained just about every day. We were either running in the morning, swimming in the morning, and biking in the afternoon. And Saturday mornings we would do a bike run or a swim bike run to train for triathlon. So,
Well, I didn't even ride then,
Yeah.
but I took it up about 5 years ago or something. It's really addictive.
it's very addictive. I've still got my road bike. I don't have my mountain bike anymore, but I've got my road bike.
Did you ride with the Thursday night group
did.
and all that?
I did.
And
yeah.
they'll go like 45 miles.
I did. I started out when I was training a lot. I got to where I could ride with the A group and stay with them. And because you got to be pretty good cyclist.
You really got to be pretty good to ride with the B team.
Yeah, because they get out and they hammer pretty good, especially on the little risers. If you're not ready to sprint up those risers or go up a hill pretty
Who
hard.
was riding then? Was it Tracy Terpster? Was he riding?
No, I don't think so. A guy named John McLaughlin was
He
riding.
still rides?
Yeah.
So you could ride with him?
Yes. One winter, best shape I ever got in was one winter. There was a guy that trained with us named Matt McAfee, 6'9", big guy, but could ride a bike like you couldn't believe. But anyway, one winter, John trained a lot in the winter because he was racing competitively. Yeah. And what they did in the winter, they'd go out and ride 4, 5, 6 hours and just go at a 16, 17 mile an hour pace just to build up their endurance, build up their base. And I did that with them. We rode every Sunday. We'd meet about 1 o'clock and we'd go ride for 4, 5, 6 hours. We rode in, as long as there was sunshine and not ice on the road, we'd ride in the upper 30s, low 40s.
Did you do the web store loop and all that?
We did a bunch of stuff, yeah. We'd go out. Mainly we'd meet out there at Black Fox. And ride from there.
At
go
the
out
church?
South Bradley. No, at the school.
School, yeah.
And ride out South Bradley County a lot. Go into Dalton some and
Cohutta.
Yep.
I rode with him one time when I was just starting, and we got all the way down to Cohutta, and I thought, boy, I can't believe I've stayed with him. and one of the guys said, okay, let's sprint back. Needless to say, I didn't make it.
Yeah, you got to know the roads too. Cause
well, it got dark, and I was coming back by myself in the dark.
Oh,
didn't have lights or anything.
That's not fun.
But I like doing me and Alvin Calhoun ride about 4 times a week, and we do 25 to 30, maybe 25. We did 42 yesterday, I think. And I make him go about 17.
Yeah.
Because Alvin can go really good.
Oh, yeah.
He can ride with those A team.
Yeah. That's about like, when I was riding with Scott's, I'd ride with Doug back in 2016.
Yeah.
And because I just like to go out and ride. I don't want to, I'm still competitive, but I don't want to go out and kill myself. I want to go out and enjoy myself on the bike. Get some exercise and just enjoy myself.
There's a few times I've been out there, I think I was probably crying. Did you ever go that hard?
Oh, yeah. There was times when I'd get dropped and I'd have to find my way back in. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's times when
You know, that's very humiliating, isn't it?
yes, it is.
And you just can't keep up.
No.
Did you take a lot of did you take any like bars with your protein bars?
On those long rides we
Yeah.
did. Yeah, absolutely. You
You know,
have to.
if I eat spaghetti the night before, I can ride a whole lot better. But if you don't ride with them 3 days a week, you can't ride with them.
No.
It doesn't matter really. So you can take a real good rider, and if he hadn't ridden in 3 weeks,
Yeah, you're gonna notice a difference. Absolutely.
but they'll catch up quicker.
Oh yeah.
But I enjoy that. But you don't ride anymore at all.
Not right now. We're Leslie and I are building a house right now, and my bike's actually up at the river. And but as soon as we get our house built, and hopefully next year, if my knee holds out, then I'm gonna start getting back out on Thursdays with Doug and them, just to ride. Maybe once a week, twice a week at most. Leslie likes to ride too, and hopefully we'll
Does she ride road bikes?
She does. Yeah. Well, she and I would go out and ride. She didn't like to do more than 15, 20 miles, but we go out and we ride and enjoy. Ride mainly. We start there at Westwood and ride that White Oak Valley and Bixby Creek and that loop. Yeah, that's
nice.
a pretty good loop back there.
And what do they call that? They call that one road the backside, or what is it?
There's one road. It's White Oak Valley, and I don't know if this is what you're talking. There's one back there, but on White Oak Valley, if you're coming, I guess it would be north on White Oak Valley, and you go by that church, go up a little riser, and you top the hill, and it's all downhill all the way to Bixby Creek. And you can really get some speed up going down through there. That's a lot of fun.
What would you say your top speed is?
On a bike?
Yeah.
On the flats?
Or on downhill?
On downhill? Oh God, 45, maybe 50 at most.
Yeah.
I didn't like. Now we could, when we were training Matt McAfee, the guy I was telling you about, that particular run there on White Oak, where you start up at the top and you go down toward Bixby Creek. We'd be hitting 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour, and there'd be 4 or 5 of us right in the line just.
I can handle that, but when we get around 42, 43, and especially curves,
Heck, we're getting old, D. It hurts a lot more,
I don't-
and your bones get a lot more brittle when you fall.
Yeah. Have you ever had any wrecks?
I've fallen a few times, but nothing major.
I broke
thank
this
God.
wrist and broke this wrist.
I've been on some rides where there've been some bad wrecks, and thank goodness I haven't.
And
been
a lot of
involved
people
in
break
them.
their hips.
Oh yeah,
That's what worries
well,
me.
collarbone's the worst one.
Yeah, collarbone. Did you see that wreck yesterday on the Tour de France?
The one where the lady had the sign
Yeah.
out. Isn't that crazy?
It was like 60 people crashed.
Yeah.
Well, don't you know she feels bad?
And they're going. You
What
can't
was
re-
she thinking?
And
She was right in his
She
way.
wasn't. She wasn't. Yeah.
She was going like, and then they had another wreck.
Yeah, after that.
After that.
On the run in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
I hadn't watched. I've recorded it. Are you gonna watch it? Do you watch it every night, or?
I record it and watch it. Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
DVD.
I like to. I like
I
to
fast forward it to the last hour.
There you go. Watch them sprint.
That's what I
Now,
do.
if it's a mountain stage, I'll watch them climb the mountains. I like to watch them do that.
Now those guys that do go out into the breakaway, and there's like 1 or 2 of them, and they'll stay ahead of the pack for like 40 miles. People don't realize what that means to be able to do that.
Oh yeah, I mean, because you've got a pack of riders called the Peloton, and those guys, once they decide to play catch up, they'll kick it into gear, and they'll be running 40, 45 miles an hour on
And
flats.
nobody's working hard
because they take turns pulling to try to catch up to the.
So they'll catch, but when you have a rider staying ahead of them for 30 and 40 miles, that's superhuman.
Yeah, you very rarely see a break, especially if it's a single breakaway or a two-man breakaway.
Remember
They
that
don't
guy
stay
last
away.
year or the year before that stayed ahead of him for the whole ride, and he lost it like the last 30 seconds.
Yeah,
because they will catch you if it's any way possible.
And isn't it amazing how they time that out?
Oh, they've got it figured.
Yeah.
I guess they've got somebody in their ear
Ears.
saying he's a quarter of a mile ahead of you on
Yeah.
the right, and there's wind coming from a tree
Yeah.
on the left.
Exactly.
What do they do when they have to pee? Do they just ride and pee?
Some of them do, and and some of them will just stop off the side of the road, take a nature break.
But you couldn't catch up then,
Oh
hardly.
yeah, well that's usually when they're doing that is when they're just right in the middle of the race, and what they'll do is they'll get behind the team cars, and they'll draft behind those team cars for a little bit, then they'll get out and pass it, and then they'll get behind another one, so they get pulled back up or the pack will slow down sometimes.
You ever notice when they'll get water bottles from the cars and they'll hang on to that bottle just another second and gives them a little push?
A little momentum, that's right.
That's a big deal.
Oh, it's huge, yeah. That's crazy. What, 22 stages?
21.
21 stages, and each stage probably averages anywhere from, if it's a mountain stage, 75 miles. If it's a flat stage, it can go up to 120.
They have to be taking ibuprofen or something.
Something, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure ibuprofen's okay, right?
I would think so. I mean, you think how many calories they burn a day.
Like 6,000,
Oh, yeah,
7,000.
easy. Yeah.
I'll burn 3,000 on a Saturday ride if it's hot.
Yeah.
I rode yesterday and I'm still dehydrated. I can't seem to get enough water in me.
One of the worst rides I went on, me and Chris went out one day, and it was like this. It was blistering hot. It was so hot when you're going downhill or you're riding and trying to get wind.
Yeah.
The heat was coming off the pavement, and it was like a blow dryer blowing in your face the whole time. I mean, it was just, God, it was miserable.
You know, I rode in the carrying hands or something, and you know most of those riders, unless you know them, they're really not going to talk to you. They're just an odd bunch. And so this guy, I guess he was from Chattanooga or somewhere, but we started out at 7:30. There was frost on our sleeves.
Oh gosh!
And about 9:30, we were going down Lead Mine Valley Road, and the sun came up and hit our shoulders, and he was in front of me. I rode right behind him for 25 miles. And the only thing I said was, I said, Michael Jackson killed himself to get this feeling. And he went, that's the only thing. So he knew what I was talking about, because you could, just that heat, it was a great feeling.
Sorry, turn it down.
That's not the cord, is it?
No, that's my sister.
You know, now, Leslie's brother, Kent, he rode, right?
Yes, and he still does.
I've rode with him a few times.
Yeah, now he rides inside mostly now.
Yeah.
I turned him on to Zwift.
Yeah.
Have you done that app?
No, but I've rode with him a few times.
Yeah, Kent's a good rider.
He is a good rider. Do you do anything else, or is that?
Well, right now, Leslie and I are training at Body by Hannah twice a week.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, she came here.
Yeah, a girl named Liz trains us that works there. She's the assistant women's soccer coach for Miles, Leslie's son, at Cleveland. But yeah, we go twice a week, Monday and Thursday. It's about an hour long. It's a great workout.
What time you go?
We get 5 after work. Yep.
What does she have you do?
Oh, just different stuff.
It's
never
not
the
just
same.
work on one thing?
No, it's never the same. Yeah, it's all kind of different exercises, and now you repeat some, but over the course of several weeks. But yeah, I mean, it's all different exercises.
What's your goal?
Just to stay in shape.
But that's not as good as riding, is it?
No, Lord, no. I miss it. I'd love to get back out.
If I had a choice, if I had time, I'd take yoga in the winter. I think that would help stretching and getting the blood flowing and everything. Yep. But who's got time to do that?
Yeah.
And we'll ride when it's 30 degrees. You know, we got those.
Oh yeah.
Those shoe
covers.
Shoe covers, and you know you can't really ride hard, but I think that's probably better than working out inside. At least you're getting
out and getting some exercise. Yeah. Fresh air.
Do you but now you played baseball, right?
I played baseball up until my junior year in college. And I was playing at UTC, and they decided to drop the program. Came down to wrestling or baseball, and they dropped baseball. But It's probably a blessing because I was more concentrated on baseball than I was school at the time. So
What position did you
I was an
play?
outfielder. Yeah. Yeah. The good thing about it was, bad thing I didn't get to play anymore, but the good thing was because I was a junior and they had dropped the program, you had two options. You could transfer somewhere and play your senior year and not without sitting out,
Yeah.
or if you didn't want to transfer and play and you stayed at UTC, they had to honor your scholarship. So I
Were
got
you getting
one more
burnt
year.
out with it by then?
Not really. No, I loved it. I mean, I would have played as long as I could if I was good enough. I just wasn't good enough. But I loved baseball.
Do you think being good at it is politics in that too?
And
It's got to be some.
it's money. It's a business. Yeah. And then politics is involved, but it's a business. Absolutely. Especially in the pros. It's a business. Those guys are good, though. I mean, they're even the rookie league players and single A players, double A, triple A.
They just focus on their one position too.
That's right.
You know, baseball's getting more exciting for some reason. I don't know. It seems like when you watch it on TV, they're like, you know, the pitchers pitch different now.
Yeah.
They got the long pants instead of the knickers.
Yeah. Some of them still wear the knickers.
I don't know why they quit doing that.
It's just the time, I guess.
And they got that one guy that pitches real slow. Have you seen him? He pitches like 48 miles an hour, and it goes like this. And
Oh,
they
the
can't-
knuckleballer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can't. They can't hardly hit it.
Yeah.
So when you went to UTC, what you studied law there?
No, I started out as, let me remember. So I went to Lee my freshman year. I signed a baseball partial scholarship at Lee. Played there for 1 year as a freshman. Then I transferred to UTC, and I think I just did general studies, maybe.
Did
or
you not
history?
like-
No, it's history.
Did you not like Lee or what?
No, I liked Lee. I got married and decided to go to UTC. I had some friends that were going down there, and didn't play that next year baseball. Then I walked on at Chattanooga my sophomore and junior year, and then I earned a scholarship my junior year. But I think I started out in history, and then I switched to education. And then, because I was going to teach, and then I decided I wasn't going to do that, and then I went into business finance, and that's what my degree's in. Got a degree in business finance with a minor in economics.
Isn't it crazy that we force kids to decide what they want to do for a living by the time they're 22
Yeah.
or 21?
Yeah.
Who knows
Nobody
what they're going
does.
to do?
Nobody does.
How do they solve that problem?
Well, it's helping in high schools now, like this Pi Center. They've got different tracks for these kids. You know, they just don't have to go to a 4-year school. They can go to a 2-year. They can go to a trade school, and they're getting that kind of work in high school now. You know, if you're not on the college track, you can be on the trade school track. So it's a lot.
But how would you even know what you want to do by the time you're 21?
You don't.
But you've wasted all that time and energy going. So it seems to me like.
But it's good experience, though.
But you go in to get a job and you say, well, I want to be this. Well, what'd you graduate? Well, I graduated with that, but I still want to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm prime example. I started out thinking about law school, and when I got out of high school, but then I wanted to be a teacher. Then I wanted to be a banker. Worked at Merchants Bank. That was my first job. In high school, when I finished high school, worked as a teller there, and then so that's why I switched over to business finance. And then I graduated and went to work for a rent-to-own company, Tobe McKenzie. Remember Tobe?
Yeah, I remember.
Went to work at Randy McCoy hired me to work in one of their stores, and I became an auditor. And then Randy transferred, or not transferred, he took another job in Athens, Georgia, for a rent-to-own company in Athens, Georgia. So he hired me to go down there and be their auditor. And so I worked for about 4 or 5 years before I decided to go to law school.
But you were able to go to law school because you'd already had a degree, right?
That's right, yeah.
It didn't matter what the degree was in?
No, it doesn't. You got to have good grades and you got to do well on your LSAT. And I got lucky because I didn't have great grades, and then I did okay on the LSAT, but I'd applied to a bunch of different schools. And Dad came home one day. We were living back in Cleveland, and Dad came home one day and said, "Hey, why don't you apply to Cumberland Law School down at Samford
What
University."
were you doing the day? What was your job the day he asked you that?
I was working at Merchants Bank, well, it was American National then, I think.
What possessed him to ask you that?
Because Bill Fillauer, remember Bill?
Yeah, I know him well.
Very prominent attorney in
Yeah.
Cleveland, was on the board of trustees at Cumberland Law School. Okay, and the only school that had really accepted me was San Diego State, and I was prepared to go out to San Diego State. So Dad comes home, says apply to Cumberland. I apply thinking I'm not going to get in that school. It's a private school. You know, about a month later, I get a letter back, open it up, I've been accepted. I thought, man, that's great. That's where I went to law school. But I think my dad and Bill Fillauer had a big influence in getting me down there.
But how did you decide, I don't want to be a banker no more, I'm going to go back to school?
When I was working at the rent-to-own company in Athens, Georgia, they sold that company. They sold their stores. And the owner of that company said that I should go to the University of Georgia and get my accounting degree, because that's primarily...
How old were you at that time? 23, 24?
No, gosh, no. I was 28. Yeah, I was 28.
You were an old man.
I was an old man. And they were going to help me go to the University of Georgia to get my accounting degree, and I said, no, I think I want to do law school.
Now, what made you think that?
You know, it's something Dad was a lawyer. It's something I'd always thought about in college, and I thought that was the path that God was leading me to at that time.
Even though you hadn't thought about it much in the whole time you've been out?
Yeah. I mean,
it's sort of like I should have done that.
Yeah, I started law school when I was 29. Yep. In 1989. So, yeah. But, I mean, it's, the good Lord puts you on a path if you choose to accept that path and listen to Him. But I got so much experience working in the rent-to-own industry, working with people, both employees and the people they serviced. It was invaluable. And I think it's helped me throughout my legal career, because I just didn't go to college, go to law school, and then become a lawyer. I got some real-world practical experience by being out and working in corporate America.
And at 29 years old, when you decide you're going to go back to law school, you mean it?
Oh, absolutely.
At 24, you're not sure.
That's right. You're not sure. I knew at 29 that's what I wanted to do. I went both summers in law school and graduated a semester early. So I got to take the bar exam in February instead of in July. So it jumped, I got a little bit of a head start. So I graduated in the top third of my class. So, I really...
And this was where?
Cumberland School of Law in Birmingham.
Oh.
You know where Samford University is in Birmingham?
I don't know.
Anyway,
I just know where, I don't know. I know where Birmingham is.
Bear Bryant country.
That's the football guy, right?
Yeah.
So when you decided to be a lawyer, I bet that really thrilled Harlan, didn't it?
I'm sure it did. Because what I did was I sat down with him at the kitchen table one day, he and Mom, and told him that I wanted to go to law school and that I wanted to work with him, and he said, I could tell, he was excited, and he said, well, let me, how my dad was, let me talk to the partners and see if we got a job available.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they did.
So but you're talking about John Edgar Brown,
John
right?
Edgar Brown, Mike
the third,
Calloway,
yeah. I went in to see John Edgar Brown once. I was panicking when I was 25 or something. I had a problem. I went into Diamond Lills, and I said, John, you got to help me with this. He said, Dee, I'm eating lunch. And I said, but John, you don't understand. It's an emergency. He said, Dee, I'm eating lunch. I said, John, it won't take you but a second. He said, Dee, I've had open heart surgery, and I take lunch from 12 to 1.
That's John Edgar.
That was John Edgar Brown.
You know what, though? That man had the biggest heart in Cleveland.
You know, he always wore dingoes.
Mm-hmm.
Dingo boots.
Yeah.
And and they were always, his pants were always just a little bit too short.
Yeah.
And he carried his pipe in his back pocket. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, John was a good man. He was a good
He
man.
really was. Didn't he lived over there close to y'all, didn't he? Or was that when?
No, I'm not sure where he lived.
So when you graduated, did you go work for Hart on that
I did.
then?
Mm-hmm. I sure did. Yeah.
And Mike Calloway.
Mike, at that time, there was Dad, John Kimball, Larry Puckett, John Brown, Mike Calloway, all downstairs, and upstairs were Bob and Marcia McMurray, and then I had an office upstairs when I first started.
Bob and Marcia, were they the same firm?
Yeah, when I first started, absolutely.
Where does the Bell and Associates come in? Because wasn't that what it was?
Yeah, yes. So that firm started with it was Corn and Bell for a long time, Colonel Corn.
Colonel Corn.
Yeah, it was Corn and Bell for a long time, and then so it was Colonel Corn and J. Hallman Bell. Mr. Bell was the Bell part of it, and then I guess Colonel Corn either retired, so then it became the Bell, Whitson, Painter, McMurray, Calloway. I mean, it had a bunch of people at one time. Had Mr. Bell, my dad. See, Bob McMurray, Jim Webb worked there. Eddie Hedrick worked there before he passed away. So there was a lot of big name lawyers.
Would that be the oldest law firm in?
It was at that time. I think Mayfield may have been a toss-up between the Corn and Bell and the Mayfield. I don't know which one started first, to be honest with
But they were both old.
you. Yes.
Now, was your dad? He wasn't from here, right?
No, Dad was from a little town in Upper East Tennessee called Chuckey, Tennessee. If you go to Greenville and you turn right there at Tusculum College, and you go down that road for probably 10 miles maybe, you get into a little bitty town called Chuckey. And
Chuckey, Tennessee.
Chuckey, Tennessee. That's where he grew up, in the foothills of the Tennessee mountains.
Do you know anybody up there still?
Oh yeah, I've got a lot of my relatives still up there. My cousins, and that I grew up with. I'd go up there every summer, spend 2 weeks with my grandparents, and spend time with my cousins up there, and my aunts and uncles, and a lot. Tobacco was their primary product up there. They grew a lot of tobacco. And
Chuckey, Tennessee. How many people live there?
Not many.
Was it like Etowah?
It's smaller than Etowah. Yeah.
Riceville?
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Maybe between Riceville and
Yeah.
Calhoun?
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's a small town. I mean, it has there's no courthouse or anything like that. It's just a small.
But it's
country
incorporated.
town. I'm not even sure if it's
I always
incorporated.
get that
or not.
incorporated and non-incorporated confused.
Yeah. But it's a small town. When Dad grew up, he grew up. He was born in 1930. Grew up pretty poor.
Hey, we got a picture of him. Can we show a picture?
Yeah, absolutely.
He
There
used to come
is.
in here.
Yeah. There's Dad.
He used to sell me light bulbs.
Yeah, from the Lions Club. Absolutely.
2 boxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's him in here in that front room.
Yeah. Yeah. Good man. Great
Yeah.
dad.
Yeah. He always waves like this.
Yeah.
So, go ahead with what you're
So
saying.
anyway, he grew up, had brother and a sister, and another sister who died right before he got married to Mom. They both found out they had diabetes at the same time, and Dad was living in, I think, Chattanooga, so he got a little bit better medical treatment, and she didn't. But Dad had walked to school. They had a one-room school, K through 12. I mean, he'd walk in snow up to his waist to get to school. First one in his family that ever went to college. First one that ever graduated from college. But he was graduated from high school. I guess he caught the bus or somehow got to Johnson City. Was walking down the street looking for a job. Came across a recruiting station for the Army or for the military. Went into it, signed up for the Air Force, didn't even tell his parents. Transported him, I think, to Texas. Huh. And I think his sergeant or somebody there told him that he needed to notify his parents, so I think he wrote him a letter because they didn't have a phone. Okay?
Yeah.
This was 1948. And he served 3 years in the Air Force, primarily in Japan. Then the Korean War broke out, and he served a 4th year.
So he was in the Korean War.
Yep.
I never knew that.
Yeah, I've got his medals in my office.
What was his duties there?
He was a sergeant. I've got pictures. I'm not sure what his duties were, but he made his way up to be a sergeant. Mm-hmm. And but then when he finished the military, he went to East Tennessee State University, and then went to UT Law School, graduated UT Law School, went to work for TVA as one of their land attorneys. And Jim Webb, who he went to law school with, mm-hmm. was working at the Bell firm, and they needed a title lawyer. So he and Dad were friends. Jim Webb told Mr. Bell about Dad. He interviewed him, and Dad got the job, and I think started in 1958, 59. See, one of those 2 years. And right after that, he and Mom got married in 1959. Then I was born in 1960. Shortly after that, he became the city attorney. And
mm-hmm. Where did he get the name Smokey?
He's got a bunch of different. He had black smoke because he has Native American in him. He's got I think his great grandmother was a full-blooded Cherokee, mm-hmm. but black smoke, Smokey. I think it came from the
Ben Moore.
Yeah, maybe Ben Moore. Yeah, I don't know.
Ben's one that always calls him Smokey.
Yeah. Who knows with Ben? Yeah, they were great friends.
They were really good friends, weren't they?
They were. I talked to Ben not too long ago, and he said a lot of good things about my dad, and that he really missed him, and mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, they were great friends.
Wonder why they mixed so well, because they're totally different people.
Yeah. I don't know.
You'd have a hard time getting Harlan to say anything other than hello.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Some of my fondest memories, Dee, after I started practicing, I worked with Dad from when I graduated, 92 to like 2000. And some of my fondest memories are going to lunch with my dad, Kenneth Tinsley, mm-hmm. Eddie Cartwright, Ben Moore. It was just priceless.
Yeah.
Because Dad was the quiet and reserved one.
Yeah.
Ben was the Mr. Gruffy, mm-hmm. and then of course Tinsley and Cartwright liked to talk.
And instigate, right?
No offense, Eddie. Because I love Eddie, but yeah, those are priceless.
And they used to go every Friday to
Couches.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Every Friday. Mm. Now, why did they do that?
They liked the barbecue.
And we're talking about how many years?
Oh, for a long time. Because
20 years?
Yeah, at least. Yeah, long before. Yeah, a long time. They, I think, Max Carroll was involved. He was in that group that would go down to.
But why Couches? I mean, it's so far away.
Yeah.
I mean, Friday's the day you're trying to get done with everything.
I don't know. I guess they. I know. When I'd go down there with them, Dad, I would always drink buttermilk. You ever had buttermilk?
Once or twice, but I'm not a big fan.
Not either, Dee. But Dad loved it. He drank buttermilk, and they had it there. So when he'd go and order his sandwich or his barbecue sandwich, he'd always get their buttermilk. So.
And they had the Cokes in that freezer.
They did.
Are they still open?
I think so. I forget the guy's name that owned it at that time. I think he sold it.
I think I know why they went on Fridays. Because you can't get in any time else. I mean, you go of an evening, you can't hardly get in. No. They'd
probably just get out of town. And,
yeah. But they did it for years.
Long time. Yeah.
Years. Did what was it like having Harlan as a father?
Dad was, I'll just say this, I hope I've been as good a dad to my son Sam as my dad was to me. He was fair, he was stern. He if you got in trouble, he would get on to you. I got whipped a few times because I was probably a little bit too rambunctious at times, but he was a great dad. I mean, he wasn't a man that showed a lot of emotion, but he was very emotional.
I guess he showed it at home, right?
Yes, Dad. You know, I was very involved in sports growing up, and I don't ever remember a time when Dad wasn't at one of my games at high school, and if we had home games at Lee or at Chattanooga, he was there. It didn't matter if it was a 1 o'clock game or a night game. He and Mom were always there to watch me play. But he was just he was a great dad, and I am the man I am today because of my dad.
Well, he was just an icon for Cleveland. I mean, if you ever had to have a statue of a guy from Cleveland, I guess it'd be Harlan Painter.
Yeah.
Nobody would argue.
He's like that big oak tree that's been in the forest for years.
Yeah.
He had all the knowledge. Dad was a very intelligent man. There was a time when, did you ever go into Dad's office? I'm sure you did. He'd have stacks of paper, literally stacks of paper all around his desk, have a little bitty space where he could do
walk
work.
in.
And there was a time when if you walked in and he asked him for a piece of paper or a document, he could tell you exactly where it was. It's right here in this stack.
But he'd have them laid out in the floor. Am I right?
Yeah.
He'd have stacks in the floor because every stack pertained to that thing.
It had something. Yeah, there was something. There was a reason that stack was there. Yeah. And I mean, there was a time he had a huge title file. That title file started when it was Corn and Bell, and I can remember looking up titles through Dad's title file, and the letterhead would say Corn and Bell, and the telephone would be Greenwood. It wouldn't be a number; it'd be a name. So
golly.
Yeah, and so he could, and they had a title. They had index cards, and they kept up. They were numbered. They had a numbering system to keep up with their files. And if Dad, before he started, getting older, if he had done a title search for you, Carrie Logan would come in and or somebody would ask him about, well, did you do that title search for Dee Burris? Yeah, look in title file X. And he could tell you exactly which title. And there were thousands of them. So, I mean, he was a very intelligent man.
He had a way with words, too.
But the few words he spoke.
I remember I got in some kind of trouble one time. I forget what it was. And anyway, I forget. And the way he phrased it just solved everything. I forget now the thing, but I do remember the way he phrased it solved it. Yeah. It wasn't that either anybody did anything. It was just his phrasing solved it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Oh, it makes complete sense. There's many a times when I would, something would happen and I'd get upset for whatever reason, and I'd go to my dad for advice, and he'd just say, well, son, you just need to, step back and think about this. I mean, he had a way of calming you down, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when I first started practicing, and I had learned from the best. Myself, Robert Thompson, John Kimball, my generation that practiced law, we were so fortunate in when we started practicing because Jeff Miller, Scott and Franklin, we had giants in the legal field. We had Conrad Fennell, we had my dad, we had Mike Calloway, John Brown. We had Larry Basham. We had so many good lawyers that had a wealth of experience, and all you had to do was go ask them, and they'd tell you about it. They'd tell you how to practice law. They'd tell you, you learn law. You learn legal concepts in law school, but you don't learn how to practice law until you get out and start practicing law. And those guys gave us invaluable
They didn't mind doing it
and they
either,
didn't mind it at all. No, they enjoyed doing it. They loved to do it because they felt that it was their duty to help young lawyers become better lawyers, and that's what they did. And I mean, we were just so fortunate to have men like that. And they enjoyed themselves too, but they were just giants of the legal industry when I first started.
I hadn't heard that name, Larry Basham, in 10 years.
Yeah.
What ever happened to him?
The last, I guess he's still around. Last time I saw him was at the Y, but it's been several years ago.
You think he's still in Cleveland?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I
hadn't heard. I know he retired.
Yeah. He and Joe Good.
Joe Good.
Joe
I
Good's
remember
another
Joe.
name. Yeah. When I was practicing with Dad, I did primarily title work, and so this is before the computer age, and you had to learn to go into the Register of Deeds office and learn how to search titles. They had the deed books and the trust books and the lien books. You had your general index and your reverse index. So Dad taught me how to do all that. But what was great about it is you had all the title attorneys in there. With Odell Swafford was the Register of Deeds when I first started. Then Raymond became, and now
Raymond was working there when Odell was there.
Yeah, and then Dinah is now. But we would, you'd go in there and we'd talk and have fun, talk about football, Tennessee football, or Atlanta Braves baseball, or
they'd flip the book over.
Yeah, Cleveland High School, whatever, Bradley High School. It was great. It was so much fun. And we don't do that anymore because everything's computerized now.
Well, how do they do it now?
Title searches?
Yeah, do they? I mean, because you don't see, because you used to go in there and, like you say, you'd see Harlan there and George McCoy and different people running titles and
Bob Varnell.
Bob Varnell, yeah.
Sharp.
I hadn't thought about Bob Varnell.
Yeah, but
he'd go.
Yeah, looking at that index. That's right. Looking for a particular name.
Now what happens?
They do it on computer. In Bradley County, they have what's called Title Searcher. It's a program.
I think I can get online and look that up. But there's something about opening the paper and seeing if that's here or not that just makes me feel better.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean, you're relying on the computer telling you that's what's in there.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, wouldn't you want to see it?
That's the way I grew up. I mean, that's what I learned to do.
You'd never make it in the title business today, would you?
Probably not.
You'd say, I need to go to the courthouse, and they'd think you're crazy.
Well, most of the title companies hire title searchers now, abstractors that do their title searches. Lawyers don't do much searching anymore.
So the searcher's not even a lawyer.
Not a lawyer, no.
And so they just get insurance and not worry about it.
That's right.
The insurance is cheaper than really checking the title, I guess.
I don't know. I just enjoyed doing the work. I enjoyed doing the title work, and I enjoyed being around all those people in the registrar's office. It was just a lot of fun. Lots of fun.
It really was. It was a good time. I don't even go to the courthouse much anymore because you have to go do your car tag somewhere else.
Right.
Stanley's office is across the street. It's just different, isn't it?
It's a lot different.
Is it positive or negative?
I think it's a little of both. We miss out on that human interaction by being at the courthouse, because eons ago everything evolved around the courthouse. Everybody gathered around the courthouse. That's where you socialize. And it started waning over time, and now it's just everything's on computer now. And you don't get that human interaction. It's probably a little bit quicker to do it on computer.
Probably is, yeah.
Than going and pulling, because you have to pull those books out and you got to flip to the page and look and see if it's a deed of trust, if it's been released, or how much, who the mortgage company is and who the trustee is and how much it is.
And then somebody walks up and wants to talk about the Braves baseball.
That's right. So that's right. But it's the human part of it's not there anymore.
It's not in a lot of stuff, and I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well, I don't either, Dee.
Time will tell, right?
Time will tell. That's right.
We can't tell.
No.
I can make an argument either way.
That's right.
Time will have to tell. But you know, there was a time when probably two people were sitting around talking about how they miss riding their horse and buggy into town.
That's right.
And that's not been a problem.
No, our problem is we have too many horse and buggies.
Could you imagine going somewhere and going home and having to take the saddle off the horse and put the buggy up and feed the horse and whatever it is they do,
yeah.
wipe them down or something? Yeah. Can you imagine? You'd have to get home, what, an hour ahead of time?
At least. And then you tend to the chickens and the
Yeah.
cows and check your garden. And I mean, this is different.
But there was no TV.
No, there was no TV.
You watch TV at night?
Very rarely.
What do you do?
Well, Leslie and I we'll sit, we don't do a lot right now because we're living with Muggs, her mother. So we'll go home and visit with Muggs for a little while, and then she'll go upstairs and go to bed, and then eventually we'll go up and go to bed. So, but you know, there's not much to watch on TV anymore.
Well, there's really not either, unless you do those mysteries. I like the mystery stuff, you know, the unsolved mysteries and stuff like that.
Now, there's some shows that Leslie and I will watch on Netflix, but, you know.
You know, I can't find anything on Netflix I like. I subscribe to it or whatever, and I just soon get rid of it. I don't think I've watched anything on it.
I haven't watched anything of it. We watch reruns of old shows.
Well, that's what I do. I go to McKay's bookstore, and I watch the whole series of something.
Yeah.
I just finished McHale's Navy,
Oh, gosh.
and now I'm on Leave It to Beaver.
Leave It to Beaver. That's going back in time.
Yeah. And then after that, I've got Mary Tyler Moore lined up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't even remember really watching it.
Yeah.
But you can get into it. You can watch two
That's right.
shows. You know when it's going to come on. You can put it in the thing. You don't have to. It's just so much easier.
My favorite is watching Andy Griffith reruns.
I've watched all of them. In fact, this is crazy, but we watched the whole series, and then I got the Return of Mayberry. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't want to watch the Return to Mayberry right afterwards because that would mess my brain up. So I'm watching several other series, and then I'll go back to it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they came out with and this is interesting. You know, Leave It to Beaver, they came out with a short series called Still the Beaver. When the Beaver and Wally, and I've just saw the picture, and June, they're all married and got kids. Mm-hmm. But you cannot find the DVDs.
Huh.
So I don't know what I'm going to do because I got to complete the series. What about the Three Stooges? That was the funniest one.
Yeah,
and
that was a hoot.
Do you remember what time like Gilligan's Island came on when you was growing up?
No, I remember on Friday nights, me and my two sisters, you know, Mom cooked a meal for us every night, Monday through Thursday. Dad had a big garden, and he and I worked out in the garden. And but on Fridays, we'd always go out to eat. You know, we'd go to
Random?
Oh, we'd go to Shoney's. We have, you know, back then you didn't have many restaurants. Shoney's, there was a pizza place, Pasquale's Pizza. That's the
Boy,
name
yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was real good. But we'd go out to eat on
Rob
Friday night.
Lynn's.
Rob Lynn's, yes. Yeah. And then we would go home, and we had one of those cabinet TVs. The channel changer was, hey son, go change the channel.
Yeah.
So, but then we'd get 3, 9, and 12.
3, 9, 61 if you turn the
if you
things.
if you got the antenna turned the right way, yeah. So Fridays we would watch the Partridge Family.
Oh, I love them.
And oh crap, the six.
The Brady Bunch.
Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, the Partridge Family were a lot more edgier than the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
I like the Partridge Family.
Yeah. But that's what we'd watch on Friday nights, and
they made that penguin. Was it a penguin or a flamingo?
The Flamingo, I think.
You know, it was a flamingo?
Peacock.
It had a peacock. That's what it was. What they made that famous.
Yeah.
Did you see now? The mother was actually the main singer's real mother, right? And Danny Partridge became that Bonafucci guy.
Yeah.
Danny Bonafucci.
Yeah. Sure. What was her name? Shirley.
Shirley
Jones.
Yeah.
And then David Cassidy.
Yeah.
Were they? That wasn't his mother, huh? Susan Day. That wasn't his mother, though.
I think it was.
Mother-in-law.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But they had that was a good show. But Friday nights, how long did that go until you got a car?
Pretty much. Yeah, till I got a car.
Did you ever go to the skating rink?
The skating rink?
Yeah.
And when I was
see,
growing up?
your era was Fulbright Ballpark, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We spent all our, every minute was at the ballpark.
Did you ever drink a suicide?
Absolutely.
What was a suicide? It was
a Coke, Sprite, and something else all mixed together, right?
Remember that if you ever, because the parents would always say, "I'm buying the Cokes,"
Yeah.
And you always had to be the one to say, "Give me a suicide," like you really liked the taste of a suicide.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Why was that?
Because we were kids. It was
But you remember
different.
saying, "Give me a suicide"? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
That didn't make any sense, did it? Did you go to the parades? Remember they had the parades and they had the double headers and the
baseball was huge.
huge.
And so
Fulbright was huge.
Fulbright was huge. So Doyle Palmer.
Doyle
remember
Palmer, he was my.
Bill Talley.
No, it was Doyle Palmer.
Palmer, yeah. And Bill Talley and Corky Whitlock.
I don't remember Bill Talley.
Yeah, Bill was the coach that didn't have all of his arms.
My
But anyway,
best memories was being on the Angels with Coach Geithner. Did you ever know him?
no. But I do remember baseball didn't start probably until 1st of June, and you had a big parade from downtown Cleveland.
Big parade.
All the way out to Fulbright Park, and then you played games.
And Corky would get in that top thing, and he'd sing the Star Spangled Banner, and then they'd have the prayer, and then they'd have double elimination, and
Yeah, it was, and then I can remember going to the World Series in late August when I was 14 years old. We went to the World Series in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I missed. I think I missed some football practice. I was a rising sophomore, but yeah, I mean, we went all summer.
What teams did you play on? Because Doyle Palmer was T-ball.
Well, Doyle and Bill Talley were my T-ball coaches.
Which was the what?
Yellow
Jackets?
I can't remember. I know I played T-ball, and then there was the what we called the minor leagues. That was when you were like 7 and 8, I think.
That was the right rear park.
Yeah. And then that's right. And then.
Do you know who my coach was? Dwayne Morrow.
Really? Well, Doyle Palmer was I played for the Dodgers in Little League from, I guess, 9 to 12.
Yeah.
I played for Doyle Palmer for the Dodgers. Never forget, I was 8, got called up. First at bat, Jerry Burrell's pitching. Okay, so I'm in there. I'm not bigger than a minute. Haven't grown much since. I'm in there. He throws one, wham, just nails me right in the arm. A big old imprint of the seams in my arm. But yeah, I played for the Dodgers, and then I played for the Hawks and Dixie Boys. Earl Rowan and Steve Benton were my coaches.
And then what about the Pony League?
Well, that was the Pony League. Yeah, that's 13, 14-year-old was.
That was the front right.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That was the big field.
The front right.
Yeah, front right. Yeah. Front right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you ever walk all the way around? They had where you could drive all the way around there in a car.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go try to catch fly ball or
Yeah.
foul balls to get a
Yeah, to get a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody be racing for those foul
Did they
balls.
give you a ticket?
I can't.
I can't remember if I think they gave you a ticket if you get a foul ball.
Yeah,
But
lots of good times.
I was talking to somebody. They said they still do that, and I just thought not like they did that.
No, well, no.
And they didn't treat football that way or basketball. It was just baseball.
Baseball was big. Now we did have, we had the Y League for basketball, and then we had football. We had a city league, which was pretty big.
Yeah, that was pretty big. But they called that Pee Wee or something.
There was Pee Wee. What was it? Pee Wee. I can't remember, but I just remember I played for the Eagles, and
that was at Arnold School.
No, that was at where did we play our game? Maybe we did play them at Arnold School. I know we practiced there at Stewart. I can remember doing practices with having to go over. I was on the midget league.
Midget, that's what it was.
Pee Wee midget,
Yeah.
and then the juniors.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they called those guys. Huh? No, it wasn't Pop Warner. No.
No, it was,
But,
it was Pee Wee and Midget League.
Yeah,
and
then-
that was it.
And then you had the next step was the 12, 13, 14-year-old kids, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids, yeah. But I remember doing that.
I played football there, and then I played football at Cleveland Junior High for Coach Underdown, and that's when I found out that coaches were not nice.
Coach
They were all They were all your friends till then.
Yeah. Coach Underdown was a hoot, wasn't he?
He was the most miserable person I think I've ever met.
He, if he ever caught you fighting in class.
Oh, he'd make
remember
you
what
fight
you
him.
do?
Yeah, he'd make you fight the
Yeah,
people.
he'd put all the students
Yeah.
in a ring and make you put
He
on
was
these
a
big
miserable person.
16-ounce boxing gloves and make you duke it
What
out.
was his deal?
I don't know.
I never knew of him before and never knew of him after.
Yeah. He was something else.
Do you think that playing baseball at Fulbright helped? Did you go there when you didn't have games?
Oh yeah, that's
I mean,
where
that's where you
hung
went.
out. That's where you hung out. Yeah.
Did you play with Jeff Lovingood?
Jeff's younger than me. Yeah. Jeff, I think, is maybe around Leslie's age, so he may be
No,
5.
he's older than Leslie.
Is he?
Yeah.
That's right. He was in the 80s. See, I graduated high school in
He
1978.
was probably between. Me and
Yeah.
Leslie graduated the same year John Lovingood did. And
Okay.
so Jeff would have been.
He was 81.
No, I believe
82.
Jeff was younger than you.
He's definitely younger than me.
Yeah, he's maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years older than me, 2 years younger.
Yeah, that may be right. Yeah.
Something like that.
Because he was, I don't remember him. I only played football 1 year. But I think Jeff maybe graduated in 81, 82. I think he was Alan's age, Alan Smith's age, maybe, right around there.
He might have been a year younger now.
Yeah.
What time? When did you? So you've been in Cleveland your whole life. You were born and raised.
I grew up in Cleveland, born and raised here in Cleveland. The only time I've not lived in Cleveland was when I was in school in Chattanooga, and then when I worked in Athens, Georgia, and then when I went to law school in Birmingham.
Did y'all always live over there off?
No, when they lived in a house, Mom and Dad lived in a house off of Peerless Road, forget the name of the road, for a brief period of time, and then they moved to Eastview Circle. And I lived there up until I was 9 years old.
Where's that at?
It's Wolf Edition.
Oh yeah. Wolf Edition.
Wolf Edition. But yeah, we lived right next to Jack Whitson. Jack Whitson was on one side of us. Jim Whitehead was on the other side of us. My best friend ever lived on Wolf Street, I think it was, Mike Conley. He and
Not
I.
Conley. Where do I know that name?
He's a coach at Cleveland High School. Well, not Cleveland Middle School. Been there for years. Mike and I met each other when we were like 4 years old, and we just played GI Joes together. Grew up playing, sports together, and we've just been friends for years. And but yeah, we lived there till about 9, and then Dad and Mom built the house over off of Blythe Ferry Road in 1969, and we moved in sometime in 1970. And I was 10 years old when
So
we moved
you've
in
been there your whole life?
Oh yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Was it hard selling that place?
It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life.
Why is that?
That's where you grew up.
Well, see, I've got
That's
the
where all
same
your
problem.
memories are.
See, I've got the same problem where I'm wanting to move, and home's where the heart is.
Yeah.
That is such a true statement.
And that's such a beautiful piece of property.
And convenient.
Oh, it's convenient, yeah. Leslie and I are building we're building on Bowman Circle. You can look out our back door and see Mom and Dad's property. But yeah, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, selling that property.
Why didn't you just keep it?
Dee, I've thought about that, but at the time, I'd been through a divorce, and I was living there, and I was taking care of it, and that's a lot of property to take care of.
Yeah, it is.
That's
one good reason.
Oh yeah, I was on the mower, 3 or 4 times a week, 2 or 3 times a week minimum, and then I'd be weed eating and doing stuff around. The house was 5,500 square feet. It was a big house and 6 acres with a pond, and I'd be weed eating around the pond and run across a bunch of yellow jackets, and it was too big for what Leslie and I needed. We're building a 2,000 square foot home.
Plus, the electric bill on 5,000 square feet is what?
Oh gosh, well this was 2016, and I kept the basement and the upstairs to where it wasn't, because they were on separate. Oh, maybe the basement wasn't, but I know the upstairs was on a separate unit, so we kept it warm upstairs. But downstairs, it'd run during the summer $400 a month, maybe.
See, that's starting to get significant, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, you think about just the upkeep on the house, paying the utility bills, paying the insurance, paying the taxes.
And it's an old house.
And it's an older house. Now, it was well built. It was one of the, there's a well built house. But, it had a basement, and with basements, they're going to leak.
They're going to leak.
And so, and it did. That's something Dad struggled with the whole time he was there. It leaked, and it really needed some upgrading. It was a 1970s house. It had their upstairs was 4 bedrooms and 2 baths. 2 of the bedrooms were my sisters, and they had a
Jack and Jill
bathroom. It was a Jill and Jill because there were 2 of them. But they had pink tile in it. Then there was another bathroom next door where my room was, and it had that old green tile and
olive green.
What? Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess it was. Yeah. But it needed a lot of upgrading. It is a beautiful home. It had the 4 bedrooms upstairs all had big walk-in closets lined with cedar. And
who built his house?
That house?
That would
Eddie Mittal. Yeah.
That was his era.
Yep. And I remember he always kept one of those pencils in his ear.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what kind of cap he had on, but he built it, and it was a very well built house.
And the new houses now are insulated so much better.
Oh yeah.
So much more electric efficient.
Oh yeah.
So you figure electric bill today is $200 or $450. That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
The new houses are almost eliminating the old houses just by efficiency.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just, but there's lots of good memories there. Lots of good memories.
Now, what about your, do they call you Barrett or Judge?
Well,
Barrett or
I'm
Judge
Barrett
Painter?
right now. If
But
I'm
during
on,
the day,
if I'm on the bench, I'm referred to as judge.
is Judge Painter?
Yes.
Or just Judge?
Judge Painter.
You know, I always get confused. You wear a robe, right?
Correct.
Now, some judges, now Carl Collins, who's a good friend of mine,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't have to wear a robe. What's the difference?
He chose not to.
Well, I asked him, and he said he presided over a lower court. That was his answer.
He could have worn. Dwayne Bunch wears a robe now, doing the same job that Carl did. But I mean, it's Casey Stokes doesn't wear a robe. Some judges just.
His arms are too big.
But yeah, I wore a robe in city court when I was city judge for 6 years, and I wear a robe now. But
Well, it adds a respect.
it does,
right?
It does.
When we was talking about good lawyers, we failed to mention Carl Collins. Isn't he a great guy?
Oh, Carl's a great guy.
He is a great guy.
And, for somebody, you'd never know all the work he's done for charities and for schools. I mean, there's a huge building at Tennessee Wesleyan named after him.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a lot, and for University of Tennessee,
He gave him $2 million.
Yeah, I mean, just it's unreal.
Carl Collins would help you any way he could, wouldn't he?
Yes, he grew up. He's part of that generation that bent over backwards to help you. That's how they were taught.
Now, what is that? Just us saying that, or were they really that way? Does that make? Are we just perceiving it that way? Because I think the answer is no. I think they would.
I think they would.
But I don't want to. But I am open to the fact that maybe that's the way I'm perceiving it.
Well, it could be. It could be. But I mean, I never had. When I was a young lawyer, I never had. If I went and asked for advice, I never was turned down. I always got good advice.
Not just a general broad stroke.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've noticed. Here's the thing I noticed about older people. I'm talking about that generation, not older. The one we're talking about.
Our parents.
Yeah, they would give you actual advice on how to handle it. Now, if you ask, they give you a general rule about how to handle things like that.
That's right.
We don't need that. We want to know, what do I do in this situation?
That's correct. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense. Yeah.
And they would say, turn right and take 4 steps to the left. And now they say, well, I just wouldn't do it that way. You know, just nothing.
Yeah.
What, you might as well not even ask
Yeah.
them. So let me ask you this. So you're saying that all judges have to, you can wear a robe or not? Or is there a court that says you have to wear a robe?
Well, they prefer you to wear a robe. Well, I shouldn't say they. The administrative office of the court, Supreme Court, they prefer you to wear a robe because it's, when you go to court, it's supposed to have some sense of almost reverence. You know what I'm saying?
And no distraction.
And no distractions. And you've got to have a lot of patience to be a judge, because you get people that come before you that want to act up. You just don't want to say you're going to jail. You got to have some patience. You got to have wisdom. I pray every morning for guidance and wisdom when I'm on the bench, and I pray for everybody that comes before me.
You really do?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's really that weighs heavy on you?
Yeah, I mean, because I take my job seriously.
It's not things aren't necessarily black and white,
Well, my jobs, I've wear several hats. I'm primarily the session civil judge, which is the small claims court. Most of these are people that they've gone and had their car repaired and had a terrible job, or they had remodeled job that didn't go out like they wanted to, or they let somebody borrow some money and they didn't get repaid. So they're coming to you in their time of need, and and so I have to listen to those cases, and they usually don't have lawyers. So, I'm listening to what they have to say, and I have to apply. I took an oath of office to apply the law. Sometimes I want to feel sorry for somebody, but that's not my job as a judge. My job is to listen to the facts, apply the law, and make a decision. In juvenile court, which is another hat I wear, juvenile judge, that we can make a difference in kids' lives, and we are making a difference in kids' lives, and that's the most gratifying part of what I do now. It's one of the reasons I got into this and wanted to be this particular judge, because of helping juveniles. We have a lot of success stories. I have a wonderful staff. Vicki Towns, my director, and when I came in, I didn't change anything, because Dan Swafford had done a great job as juvenile judge. Van Deacon had started the juvenile department. And it's just built over time, and we have so many programs and so many good workers that really care about these kids, because these kids are coming to us in a time of need. And if we can make a difference in one life, it's all worth it. So that part of it is it gets frustrating, because some of these kids don't want to listen, but we have great leaders in our juvenile staff that really help these kids and really want to work with them and try to make a difference. I also do order protection court, where people are, somebody's getting abused, or somebody believes they're getting abused, so they're coming, they get an order protection. So I listen to those cases. I also have environmental court, where people aren't keeping their property clean, or they've got junk cars on it, or whatever. I do that. I do mental health court. I think I've had 2 or 3 cases that I've had to deal with in mental health court, but that's dealing with people that are really struggling.
They are really struggling.
Yeah,
they need help.
And so, but I love what I do right now. I mean, I've been practiced law from '92 to October of 2020. That's when October 1, 2020.
18 years?
Yeah, more than that, 20-something years. Yeah, 92 to 2020, however long that is. But anyway, I decided I wanted to be a judge. I ran 8 years ago almost against Sheridan Randolph, because I felt like that's where I was being called, but I talked to Dan Swafford, and really I wanted his position, and Dan said he was going to retire at the end of his term, and I was planning on running in May next year for that position. And then Dan called me in March of last year and said, hey, I'm going to retire early. And I went through that appointment process with the county commission, and thank you, county commission, for showing confidence in me to finish Dan's term. And we've made some good changes in all the courts, and I feel led to this position. I feel like it's a calling, and I love every day getting up and doing my job. It's my life couldn't be better right now. I got a wonderful wife. Leslie's just fantastic. Her family's fantastic. My sisters are my family here now, and my son, and it's just, life is great right now. Couldn't be better. Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Because it could change.
It can change tomorrow. That's right. But I tell you what.
So it's Fulbright all over again.
Yeah, the good Lord has really blessed me.
It's Fulbright, and you've been picked for the All-Stars.
That's right. That's a good way to look at it, Dee.
It's Fulbright, and you've been picked for the All-Stars, and all you got to do is make sure you.
It's that one year we won the World Series. I was on I guess I was 16.
Give me a suicide.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I've been blessed. I've had a lot of, Dad was a big influence, a huge influence in my life. Mom was too. I mean, I never heard my mom and Dad argue. Mm-hmm. Never. Mm-hmm.
They weren't Italian, were they?
No, they weren't Italian.
We use it as a sport.
Yeah. But I also had Jerry Everly was my youth minister at Broad Street. You know, I was saved when I was in high school out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was out there on a baseball camp with Greg Davis. He was probably the best athlete that ever played at Cleveland. And I was saved out there, and so he was a big influence in my life. Dwayne Shriver was a big influence in my life.
I like Dwayne.
He was my high school baseball coach.
And wrestling coach,
And wrestling
I guess.
coach, yeah. And so it was, I've been fortunate to have huge role models that really made a difference in my life. And it's just been, there's been some down times, but my life's been great.
What are we supposed to do with the kids now that don't have the Fulbright experience? And I'm sure are there other experiences? I don't know what they'd be because they're just sitting here playing these games.
Right. That's right. They go to the skating rink, but that's not a good experience for them. And a lot of these kids just want somebody to show them attention, tell them that they love them, tell them that they care about them. Right now we're going through, we've got some kids that are going through the Leaf Academy, which is it's kind of like a boot camp for kids that have been acting up or haven't been doing well in school and they need some guidance.
So until they're 18, they're eligible for this.
That's
Because
right.
until you're 18, I don't know if you can be blamed for anything.
Well, you got to take responsibility, and that's what we try to teach them. But it's, I went out the first week of boot camp and just told all of them, man, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. But if you go through it, nobody promised you anything. You have to work hard to get somewhere, but if you work hard, it'll be worthwhile.
What is the LEAF program?
It's kind of like a behavior, I call it a behavior improvement, behavior modification program. We've got our staff and some law enforcement officers that run the camp. It's at Cleveland Middle School. They do physical training in the mornings, and then they do school work in the afternoons. It's a 6-week program, 5 days a week. It's all day long. It's a great program for these kids. And some of them don't make it through, and some of them.
If they make it through, what does that mean?
That means they've completed the LEAP program. They get a certificate of completion. We have a graduation for them. They get recognized. We have people come and speak at the graduation.
It's worth something, isn't it?
It's worth something to them. Yeah, absolutely. It's just like I said. We got to make a difference in these kids' lives. I mean, look where they're our leaders of tomorrow, and we've got to show them that not only are they going to be leaders of tomorrow, but that somebody cares for them, somebody that we're there to try to help them, not try to hurt them.
Well, and when we say tomorrow, we mean 8 years.
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, not even. It's not like they're our futures in 50 years. They're our future in 10 years.
Yeah. Exactly.
But do we feel an obligation? Like that time I said, talking about John Edgar Brown said I ate lunch from 12 to 1.
Yeah.
Now at 1 o'clock, I sat down there and finished eating with him, and at 1 o'clock we went over to the office and he solved my problem.
Right.
So it's not like he ignored me, he helped me.
Yeah.
Do we have an obligation to help that other person when we become John Edgar Brown? I mean, morally, ethically, or to help as you're doing?
I think everybody has an obligation to help somebody. I mean, if we didn't, then there would be a faceless society. I mean, we all have an obligation to try to help somebody, whether it's through leading them to Christ, or whether it's solving a problem that they've got, whether it's getting them a job, whether it's helping them through school, getting them on the right track. We've always got an obligation to try to help somebody. We get caught up so much in ourselves sometimes that we think about me instead of everybody else. And when we start thinking about me and forget about other people, then we're not helping other people. And I think we've got an obligation to try to help other people.
Obligation from what? God or just ethics?
Well, I think it's more from I think it's more from God, because we got to try to help people. We got to be good disciples, okay? And we got to try to help people know that there is a better way through Christ and through accepting Him as your Lord and Savior, because it does change your life. It changed mine. And but it's in that we become, if somebody looks at Barrett Painter and says, well, why is he kind, why is he humble, or Dee Burris, why is he kind, why is he humble, why does he help other people, then they'll know, they're going to start asking questions. And if you answer the question, you say, well, the reason I am the man I am today is because, number one, Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and number two, I had mom and dad that taught me what's right and what's wrong, and they were there for me. We have a lot of kids that are getting raised by people other than their parents, and I think that's not a good thing.
That is not a good thing.
And it's we need to try to help. At least for me as a juvenile judge, well, I want to try to help these kids know that there's something else out there for them. Somebody cares for them, and I don't know what we're going to have to do to get mom and dads to realize that they need to be parents first and foremost, because it's a huge responsibility to have children. I'm fortunate. I've got my son Sam, who's a great guy, great kid. Well, he's not a kid. He's 30 now.
30, golly.
Yeah.
I remember when he was born.
I know it. And then you look at Miles and Kent, Leslie's sons, Miles and Biscuit, and they're wonderful because they had good parents.
Why do they call him Biscuit? They've called him Biscuit
for years.
For years.
Yeah, it's not what you think. So back when Biscuit was smaller, they spent a lot of time with Doug and Cindy Moore. Doug works for Cleveland City Schools, and Cindy's a physical therapist. But they spent a lot of time with Doug and Cindy. And Biscuit, when he gets out in the sun, he gets dark, okay? And one day, Doug said, Kent, you just get brown as a biscuit. And that's how he got the nickname Biscuit.
It stuck with him.
It stuck with him all those years. Yeah, and everybody knows him as Biscuit now. But but they had good parents. I had good parents. I hope Sam had good parents, and so it's.
Can you think back at Doyle Palmer? I remember Doyle Palmer. He was people like that. They had no fame. I think he died like this year.
Yeah, just recently, yes.
He's had no fame. He was nothing other than a good guy that wanted to help. And he probably was happier than we are. I mean, it's not like, I don't even know what he did. I just remember the 2 years that he coached me, I just thought the world of him. It's almost like you think they're there to help you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not that they're going to give you advice, or they might give you advice. It's that if you needed advice, they would give it to you. Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense.
And so I think that's what places like Fulbright did that to me. Now, Coach Underdown didn't do that. He wasn't going to help you.
Yeah.
Coach Palmer was. So if people have more Coach Palmers than they do Coach Underdowns, the world would be completely different.
It'd be completely different. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's, I and it's not, you shouldn't wait till somebody asks. If you see somebody that's struggling, you should reach out to them. And now, we get so tied up in our jobs and our families that we forget about that. But if we can reach out, and I think that's part of why I'm so passionate about the job I have now, because I can help reach out to and help people that have troubles, whether it's in sessions court, whether it's in mental health court, whether it's juvenile court. People are coming before me in their time of need, and if I can just show them a little compassion, a little.
You're wanting to be a Coach Palmer.
Well, yes. And I have a job as a judge that sometimes I don't make everybody happy because my ruling may be against somebody, because you got a plaintiff and you got a defendant.
50% are going to be mad.
Yeah, somebody's not going to be happy with your ruling. But if I explain my ruling and I tell them why I'm ruling a certain way, then that they get that.
Do you think that's closure for some people?
It is.
It's like they want to argue about it till then, and after that, they'll, okay, I'm accepting it this way.
Yeah, for the most part, that's true. That's correct.
It's almost like a funeral, in a sense, because a funeral's closure. Mm-hmm. If you didn't have a funeral for people, it'd be disturbing. Now, when does your thing, is this an elected position?
It is. So I got appointed by the commission in June of last year to finish Dan Swafford's term. His term ends September 30th of 2022, next year. He was going to retire anyway. He just retired early. Mm-hmm. So I've got to run for this position in May. The primary is May 3rd, 2022, next year. So I'm in the process of getting my campaign committee together and got a plan going forward.
How do you run for something like that, saying, "Hey, vote for me, I'll convict you"? Well, and that's not the case, is it?
No, you can't. There's certain guidelines that the Supreme Court puts on us in how we run a campaign. I can't directly solicit funds from anybody for my campaign. If they want to contribute, then I say go see my treasurer, Alan Smith, and he'll take it. But I can go out and shake people's hands, and I can tell people why I'm passionate about this job and why I want to continue to be the Sessions Juvenile Judge for Bradley County. It's just like any election. It's it's not a bipartisan race. It's I'm running as a Republican, been a Republican my whole life. Dad was a very conservative man, taught me good conservative values, and so it's just like any political race, except I'm running as a judge, and there's certain things I can and cannot do. I can't comment on cases. I can't comment on how I would rule on cases. All I can do is say, I'll listen to your case. I'll listen to I'll take whatever facts you bring before me, whether it's somebody testifying, whether it's party testifying, whether it's documentary evidence, and then I'll take the law for that particular issue or that particular case, and I'll apply the law and make a decision. That's all I can say. I'm not going to tell you I'm going to rule this way or this way. I couldn't do that. That wouldn't be fair. So there's certain things I can and can't do as a judicial candidate, but I will work hard. I will be there every day, and I will be passionate about what I do.
When you're ever in there making decisions, do you ever watch Kane? Kane, remember the kung fu guy that he would go around, and before he got in a fight, he would see what was the name of that?
Oh, it's Kung Fu.
Kung Fu, yeah.
Kung Fu,
Wasn't his name Kane?
I think so. The guy that had to burn his on the cattle, yeah.
But remember, before he fought somebody, he would always see his old teacher,
his mentor, yeah.
So when you're making decisions out here and you're thinking, do you see Harlan? Do you see Coach Palmer and these various other people that meant something to you that didn't to me, that just helped because they wanted to?
In a way, yes.
I mean, do you feel that reasoning?
We are who we are because of the people that came before us.
Exactly.
Okay? And it shows in how we act. you know, how when I'm sitting as judge, how I treat people. You know, I try not to treat people like, you know, I'm the judge and you're the, you know, you're the parties and I'm better than you. No, I'm just, you know, I'm just because I'm your judge doesn't mean I'm any better than you. I've just happened to be in this position through the good graces of the commission and hopefully get elected. But you know, I will listen to you. You know, and I'm going to treat you like you deserve to be treated because I want to be treated the same way. If I was on the other side and I had to be before a judge, then I would want to be treated with respect too. You know, just because I'm a judge doesn't mean I get to treat people with no respect. You never make it doing that in any job you have.
And you didn't want to do that's not your nature anyway.
No. I mean, when I was a practicing lawyer, I always tried to treat my clients with respect. You know, when I would go into court, you know, I'm a competitive person by nature, growing up in sports, very competitive. And you know, and I'll shake your hand if you're the opposing attorney. I'll shake the other party's hand. But once we start, you know, I'm going to do the best job I can as your lawyer to get the best result for you. So I, you know, I would work hard, but I'm still going to show respect, show compassion, kindness, humility. Those are all things that everybody should have in whatever they do. Because if you don't, then, you know, they're not going to show you any respect if you don't respect them.
Let's go home and watch Tour de France.
Thank you.